Yes, thank you very much, Madam Acting Deputy President. And I rise tonight to speak on behalf of the constituents in the electorate of Dixon, one of my duty electorates. And I was very pleased to accept a petition signed by 1,600 residents and have tabled the Samford Valley District's NBN petition in this place. And I've spoken recently in this place about the difficulties experienced by the Samford Valley District's residents with the NBN, and I'm pleased to say that the residents are taking action. Local residents from the Samford Valley District's area, postcode 4520, are represented by two advocacy groups, Samford and Districts Progress and Protection Association and the Samford NBN Advocacy Group, led by local resident Mr Sean Ferguson. The suburbs affected at the 4520 postcode include Whites Mountain, Yougar, Samford Village, Sampson Vale, Samford Valley, Mount Glorious, Cobble Creek, Mount Sampson, Mount Nebo, Enoggera Reserve, Draper, Jolly's Lookout, High Vale, Camp Mountain, Armstrong Creek, Closeburn and Cedar Creek. The group has met with myself, Michelle Rowland, the Shadow Minister for Communications and Labor candidate for Dixon, Ms Ailey France, to talk about the factors affecting the residential and business access to the NBN. The residents of Dixon want action. In my capacity as Duty Senator for the Dixon electorate and committee member on the Joint Standing Committee on the National Broadband Network, the advocacy group has asked me to table their petition with 1,600 signatures and to speak in the Senate to represent their concerns, primarily their opposition to the current allocation of fixed wireless and satellite across 65% of the 4520 area. We've all heard the painful stories from residents and businesses that suffer appalling NBN services. The negative impact is devastating to many businesses and particularly small businesses. Problems faced by the residents and businesses in the Samford Valley districts are different in the sense that the area has a higher than the national average percentage of small businesses and entrepreneurs, all requiring reliable broadband services, and the area constitutes the largest national rollout of NBN fixed wireless and satellite technologies within a metropolitan area. Originally scheduled for rollout in 2016, many 4520 suburbs are soon to receive a multi-technology mix, where 65% of residents are destined for fixed wireless and satellite NBN allocation due to oversubscription of the fixed wireless towers and the unique topographical issues in the area: mountains, valleys, rainforest, trees and vegetation, acreage and farms, urban and semi-rural mix, which impact on the reliability with residents experiencing frequent dropout and outage experiences. In addition, it's interesting to note that NBN Co categorises the Samford and District's 4520 area as semi-rural, whereas telecommunications companies classify the area as metropolitan. And like many areas in Australia, the Samford Valley Districts is another casualty of the multi-technology mix, effectively creating a digital divide of inequality across the suburbs. Due to poor planning or a lack of understanding, a number of properties on Samford Road, the main road into Samford Village, have been allocated to NBN satellite, all less than 1 kilometre from the Samford Telstra exchange. The absurdity is that some ready-for-satellite service properties are within 200 metres of the Samford exchange. Understandably concerned that the area will continue to be a digital backwater for decades to come if the current NBN plan for the 4520 district is allowed to continue unchanged or unchallenged, some consumers are reverting to their ADSL service. This is unfair and unequal, and it's not just the Samford Valley who feels let down by their local member, Mr Dutton. My office regularly receives calls for help with the NBN. Just this week we received another 2 calls from upset Dixon residents. An elderly couple quoted hundreds of dollars to organise their own electrician to enable NBN connection, and a single elderly lady who watched properties around her having NBN enabling technology installed from late 2017 and repeatedly told that it wouldn't occur at her property because she had Foxtel and Optus cables. Well, she doesn't have Foxtel or Optus cables, and now the NBN switchover is imminent. She's been told to have to outlay hundreds of dollars. In both of these cases, the residents have been buck passed from their telecommunication providers to NBN and back again in a classic case of NBN ping-pong. And it's astonishing, despite the fact that we have a $21.4 billion cost blowout and a rollout delay of 4 years, the Liberals can't meet their own local mandate in Queensland. Now, Labor will continue to work with local communities like Samford, and while Mr Dutton has let down his community, Labor has a strong voice in Ailey France, the federal Labor candidate for Dixon. Together we call on the government to stop rushing this inferior technology across the Samford Valley District's area. We call on the government to ensure that the NBN Co delivers fair and equitable broadband services across this community to the homes, the schools and the businesses by providing residents with the necessary and appropriate technology to meet their needs and expectations now and into the future.